Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So welcome to our session today. The title is Secret to Hit TV Formats. So just for clarification, if anyone doesn't know what TV format is, I know most of you know, but it's a copyrighted structure or an idea for a television program that is owned by a producer, creator, broadcaster. And that idea or that structure is aired on a channel in a country somewhere, and other countries adapt it and license the format and produce it locally. So I'm going to start off with the title of our panel, which is the Hit TV Formats, and go to Anahita, ladies first. So Fremantle has a big catalog, successful.
Yes.
So for you guys, what makes a hit TV format? How do you pick the hit TV format to license it and roll it all over the world?
I think I'm going to start by just quickly defining what a hit format is, because it's often one of those slightly subjective concepts. And to me, a hit format is something that is not necessarily ratings related or revenue related, because we know that at least in our territories, that's not always apples for apples. So for me, a hit TV format is a show that essentially becomes embedded in culture over a number of years. So something that has longevity, that's something that's on air multiple years, and something that, and it's also a television show that launches careers. And what I mean by that is, in the case of something like an Arab Idol, that's obvious. Everyone's like, Mohammed Asaf, but not necessarily just from the contestants, also from the cast. You know, we've launched the career of a number of our judges, for example, that have become synonymous with one of those TV shows. And so under the premise of that being a hit TV format, so we're not going to talk about ratings or money. I would say, so first, I mean, we were joking about this earlier, there's no secret. The truth is, you try, and sometimes you fail, and sometimes you get it right. But if you were, in my opinion, there are some very key things that give you a better chance, a higher shot. So as someone who sells television formats, and I have to do a lot of convincing as to why this is going to work, you go with a little bit of history. Has it been successful elsewhere? Has the show worked, truly worked? Not in one isolated Eastern European country. You know, has it truly traveled? Is it scalable? Is there production flexibility? And the reason I'm saying this now is because we'll actually get to it when we talk about what Tariq's done in terms of really developing, truly being local. So is the format flexible? Does it have legs beyond television? For me, we're in that era where, you know, traditional linear television is under some strain. So can you extend what you're producing for TV onto the new emerging digital platforms? Namely the two. You know, can you get more mileage out of it outside of your traditional TV space?
So just here, how much your involvement as a format owner in terms of developing or the digital extension, for example, for a format, would you be advising the broadcaster, the producer in those terms? How you get involved into that, or you just give them the structure and they'll do whatever they want?
Wing and a prayer. No. No, actually, I have to say, for Fremantle, what we're very, very good at is almost forcing your hand into that digital space. So a lot of our formats come with a production Bible, and then they come with a digital Bible. And the digital Bible is about twice as big as the production Bible, because it's a scary space, choppy areas that we're all trying to navigate. So we almost insist on digital extensions. It is a KPI for us. Again, not just from a revenue perspective. Television shows tend to retain their audience if there's a community outside of the slot on TV. So I think that's really important. That's really hard to convince people to do. But we were going to do takeaways. I mean, for me, these are sort of the going in. This would be the highest chances of me convincing my client that this could be a hit.
So does it have to be big format? So if you're talking about successful, proven formula that has been successful in the US and a huge hit, big format, big production values, does that guarantee success in Egypt, for example?
No. Don't tell them I said so. The truth is that so everyone thinks the show that we've sold the most, like our biggest hit, is Got Talent, or an Idol. This is actually not the case. Our most successful show in the Fremantle catalog in terms of number of sales worldwide is Family Feud. A small daytime, 30-minute. Right? It's a strippable, non-primetime show. I mean, there's Celebrity Family Feud, which is prime, but really, Family Feud, 40 years of strength in Family Feud, and it has never failed. And as a result, I would consider Family Feud our biggest hit. We've now got it in Afghanistan, it's in Ethiopia, it's gone to really small markets. It's almost it's a gateway drug into the format world, because
so you hook them with Family Feud and you hit them with Idol.
Right.
All right.
That's right. Once they're hooked, yeah.
All right. So when you talk about adapting and localization, and I think it's not just taking the structure as it and producing it as it is in the region here, especially in our region.
Absolutely.
We're talking about the Middle East and North Africa. It's
Yeah.
the Arab-speaking countries. We have a lot of nuances different from other markets, social, religious, political. I'm not going to go there. So.
I said drug. You can go anywhere.
Yeah, so
It's too late.
So when you license these formats, the appetite for producing any format is there, or they are very selective in terms of what works and what doesn't work in the region?
I think what I like about this region is everyone's willing to consider everything, which is really nice. But ultimately, again, working towards giving you the higher chances, development and adaptability is 50% of the work is me selling you a format that has scalability, flexibility, track record, digital extensions, yada, yada. The other 50% is having a broadcaster or a production arm that is willing to go the extra mile. Truly develop, often fight with flying producers from my end. Guys who don't understand the cultural sensitivities, people who are like, no, you cannot exclude women from doing X, Y, and Z. And, it's a little bit of an uphill battle, but you need someone who has the tenacity and a real trooper to convince people from my side, often even the broadcaster, that this is what they need to do to make it work. I'll give you a very simple example. Project Runway Arabia. Project Runway is a very famous format, as we all know. Heidi Klum, great. But for the Middle East, it was often seen as a bit niche. It was a bit elitist. Not everyone aspires to be a fashion designer. Where singing, yes, pretty much everybody and their mother wants to, get on stage. So the question with NBC was, how do we adapt this? How do we broaden this audience to include the same women that would watch an Arab Idol or an Arab's Got Talent? An uphill battle, workshops in London, a lot of convincing later. What they did with Project Runway Arabia, first of all, by the way, it's the best version of Project Runway ever made, hands down. I mean, don't tell my American colleagues, but it truly is. But also, they brought in the music superstars that people would tune in to watch on The Voice and Idols and other shows. They brought that into Project Runway. They expanded it to be a general entertainment variety show that happened to have the odd catwalk.
Yeah,
and that's adaptability.
I'm not going to get there, but I think because the broadcaster had other shows that
Correct,
include the
absolutely.
stars, they brought in the stars into that production and gave
Yeah,
it
but to have that vision, to go that this is what I need to do to bring this out of its niche. And I mean,
So talking, I'm going to put
yeah,
it up.
because I'm going to segue to him.
So talking about just localization and adapting, I think the best example is with Tariq Al-Gunaini, who adapted SNL, Saturday Night Live, in Arabic. Tell us a little bit about that, or you should watch a video first. Okay, guys, can you roll the video and then we can talk about it?
Saturday Night Live. The well-known brand of SNL is the biggest comedy show in the world. Introduce the biggest comedy stars in the world today, which has been airing for over 42 years. It was our dream to see the Arabic version of SNL in the Arab world, and the dream became reality. After great efforts with a huge team consisting of the best comedians in the Arab world, searching for the new young talents in the acting field. And the result was the first copy of SNL Arabia. Over the past 2 years, we filmed 4 seasons of SNL Arabia,
صباح الخير يا حلوين.
where we hosted the biggest and the most glamorous stars in the Arab world,
Saturday night بالعربي.
but with a twist.
عيان
يا لهوي يا لهوي.
فيفي عبدو
وماليش في الدمع لا لا لا. هدي الكلام ولا بلاش؟ ايوه. العب يا تعب.
Exclusively for its first run for seasons 1, 2, and 3 were aired on OSN, who are considered to be partners in our journey. As for the second run, for season 1 it was aired on CBC, and season 2 was aired on El Nahar, and season 3 was aired on E.
SNN.
And we are currently airing season 4 exclusively on OSN.
وانا بقول من هنا احذروا يا مسارح العالم.
Year and a half, we were able to reach over 489 million viewerships on YouTube and Facebook.
أظن اتسلطنا جامد قوي.
And now, in 2017, SNL Arabia continues its success.
So that's a hit TV format.
Yeah, I think.
And I think the major element in the success of the SNL بالعربي is you guys knowing really how to adapt it locally, culturally, with the language nuances, and mainly it's focused definitely on Egypt, but it has this pan-Arab feel into it. So tell us a little bit about that and how you guys managed to adapt that very tough format.
Hi. It's like you said, it is a very tough format. With SNL, you look for two things. We wanted the name. We've always wanted the name, and for a long time they weren't franchising. And then when we started being in contact with them and we went and we met them in New York, first question I asked them was, where is it airing? So they thought I'm asking the countries that the American version is airing. Then I made it clear that I'm asking in which countries were it airing. I believe we were number 4 or 5. We were number 5 to get the format after Spain, Korea, Italy, and somewhere else where it didn't work. It had actually succeeded in Korea. It failed in Spain. It succeeded in Italy after its 3rd season. First 2 seasons, it didn't work at all. Because, again, comedy is very subjective and comedy is not translatable. And especially in a region like the Middle East where if I ask anyone to tell me a comedy joke, it will be either political, sexual, or religious.
Hot potato, nobody touched that.
Yeah. So religious, we really don't talk about. Political, we try as much as possible to stay away from the political part because it's really not funny at the moment, or especially. So we get accused sometimes that the show is a bit sexual, sometimes, which again in season 3 and 4 we drifted away so much from.
You excelled in that.
No. I think we ran out of sexual jokes in season 1 and 2. So in season 3 and 4, we had to start having different kind of jokes. We have chart in the writer's room that has the rules of comedy, and finally we added one at the end. If you make sexual jokes, then you have a sexual problem. Just so we would encourage the writers to stop being too sexual. No, they got they made their peace with their sexual problems, I guess.
But we all know. I mean, we always like in the TV industry. We always say comedy doesn't travel. So the reality shows, the big entertainment shows, are very well adapted. The drama now we're seeing more scripted drama traveling. The comedy has always been a challenge. especially sketches and skits like SNL. So
I think the
what
trick-
is so let me ask you, what is the involvement of SNL, the US version, with you guys, and how you managed to get away from structure and introduce your flavors in it?
We just wanted to learn from the US guys, how do we do this week in, week out? Because it's like you're producing a movie every week. You have a new wardrobe, you have a new set, you have new sketches, you have a new script, you have everything new, plus you're adapting into each host's needs. You have comedy guys that come, but they have a lot of reservations about what they want to do. You have other drama actors. You have, so it's very difficult dealing with each host and what their needs are. But we make it very clear, we don't want anyone to come to SNL except for the experience. And that's why now we just shot episode 50 with Ahmed Sa'a, who's doubtfully one of the biggest stars in the Middle East. And like you've seen, we have maybe around 30% of non-Egyptians between Lebanese and Gulf and Syrian and Tunisian stars, and the rest are Egyptians. Egypt gives you an edge on the comedy part because it's the one accent that is understandable from all the Arab world, because maybe we had an edge before in producing TV, in producing films in Egyptian, so the accent is understandable on a wider range. So what we try to do, we always want to make it a pan-Arab show. We don't want it to make it pure Egyptian. I remember there was a suggestion at the beginning that it should be Saudi Night Live, not Saturday Night Live. But again, the Saudis, they have amazing talents now, especially on social media, that one of the plans in SNL in season 5, we're wrapping up season 4 now, and in season 5, one of the things we want to do is to have a Saudi resident or a Kuwaiti resident or someone just to give us a bit more of a spin. Maybe in the news update, we're still playing with the idea because we have been wanting to do it. And with this kind of program to reach season 4, it does not really happen a lot in the Middle East. So I believe the show has just matured its way into what's next.
Okay, so from the commercial side, just touching on that base a little bit, we've seen in the video that the free TV partner has changed every year. I had to go there. Yeah, so
I set it up for myself. I didn't see the video before. I did.
I think now you're going to remove in the next video. But let me just touch. I'm not going to talk about these details, but I mean the structure of pay and free TV and the digital extension. Does that affect how you select a format, or you kind of like tend to deal with one broadcaster and it's enough to produce a format?
With SNL, I was hoping it would be on one channel only. But it's a very expensive program. It's too expensive for one channel to be able to handle it. Plus, it was OSN were initiating the whole program with us from day one. So to have it on OSN made sense. Of course, it makes our life much, much more difficult because you have to work comedy that still works 6 months later after it finishes on OSN. And this is very difficult because you always try to have evergreen kind of comedy. We're steering away from the current events. But right now, for example, we're shooting season 4, and in the news update, we have news for season 3 that we put on it. If you notice, Shadi and Khaled, they never changes their suits and ties in all the seasons, except in episode 1, actually. And they always look the same because sometimes we take the news from here and air it in the other one. As for the free-to-air channels, again, it's not an easy program to be swallowed. We stand behind our material. We stand behind what we do. We don't bend backwards to channels if they want to change a lot in what we're doing. So we had a nice run with CBC. We had another run with Al Nahar. And now we're on E, and I was just telling the team we're running out of Egyptian channels. So, so I believe that we're sticking.
DMC, you still have DMC.
No, DMC would not touch the show. They're very good friends of ours, but they're
Okay, so
much
talk
more.
about pay and free, and do you see, I mean, now with the surge of the OTT platforms and the digital platforms in the region, so do you think any of the Flixes of the Middle East will step up and be part of that format or any other format? I can see Anna smiling, but it's fine.
It might be an idea. We did not really explore it yet, but like you've seen, we have numbers on social media and YouTube and stuff that no one even ever came close to
I
anything.
would suspect an OTT player, if he steps in, he would want that to be removed. He will not
Of
share.
course,
Yeah,
but then they would
have to pay for it.
We don't look really for YouTube and Facebook for the revenue part of it at all. It just helps the show reaches a bigger audience faster because, again, it's a sketch comedy show. So having the episode airs, of course, we block everything. Like now, you cannot find anything from season 4 on social media or YouTube or anything. But yesterday, an episode aired on E! This morning, you will find that the 2 or 3 of the sketches already surpassed the 1 million views, which is amazing. It keeps on surprising us. Hind Sabri was just with us 2 days ago. Hind, of course, is one of the biggest stars in the Middle East. One of her sketches about the Arab mother and her relationship with the ship. I don't know if you're all familiar with the ship, the slippers. This sketch exceeded 14 million views.
So funny. It was really
It
funny.
was very funny, and Hind was telling me one sketch on SNL is equivalent to 5 movies I've done. So it does make a difference. One of the things also we want to do in season 5 is to start having recurring guests. We are running out of stars. At the end of the day, 53 Arab stars, and you're always trying to target certain quality of stars. So I believe in season 5 we will have to start repeating, and I actually made the deal with Hind that she will be the first recurring stars upon her request.
Right. So we're going to move on to Manoj and talking also about localization. How does it work for you? How do you localize in your territories differently than what Tariq was saying or similar?
Well, I've been in this industry for 20 plus years, and I'm still trying to find the secret. You know what happens, actually, we are at a unique position at a broadcaster who also owns formats. So when we look at acquiring formats, we definitely look at scale, okay? But there are 2 riding factors whenever we acquire a format. One, is it a perception driver, or is it a revenue driver, or a combination of both? We would love to have a combination of both, perception and then revenue. Otherwise, what's going to happen is season 2 or season 3, we're going to let it go. That's why many of the format owners, when we actually do formats, which is not fiction or scripted format, we try and sell it and lock it for at least 3 years. So I think that's something which Fremantle or whenever we do it. So we try and block it off. Even if the format doesn't work, the broadcaster still needs to cough up the format fee for at least 2 or 3 years. But again, coming from the broadcaster's perspective, the localization is a very key element. Now, just outside we were discussing, so we had acquired for India one of the largest simple formats, but popular singing formats, not from Fremantle, one of a competition. And the nuance of the Indian market was, for a singing format, the participants are very respectful to the judges or who are mentors for the show. That's the Indian culture. So this format required judges to probably fight between each other to get a participant onto their side. Season 1, in the urban market, it kind of did well, but in the semi-urban or the rural market, completely flopped. This was it was supposed to be it was a new channel launch for Zee. It was to be the channel driver. It didn't work. Everything about choosing the format was correct. The judges, the name, the scalability, but it didn't work. We had the patience to take it to season 2 and season 3. There it kind of started picking up. Now it's probably stable and we are going to sign for the next 3 years, but this is exactly what happens.
So this is a case of a successful formula that has been globally success format that you brought in with the right ingredients, with the right stars, etc. But it kind of like flopped due to a small, not small, but like a detail which is huge in the local culture.
Absolutely. So as we speak, one of my fiction formats is getting remade into Arabic. And we've actually told the Arabic producer localize to the maximum level possible. Come back to us if you need to skip characters or change a particular part of the entire bit, but make sure it is relevant to the entire region.
Yeah, so that's what I'm going to touch about now is the format is not only entertainment and reality and comedy, it's also drama. So you guys have licensed one of your dramas to be adapted in the Arab language. So when you talk about localizing drama, is it translating the drama and seeing how it works? And what's the involvement of you as drama owners into that? Or you just give them the scripts of how many episodes and they do whatever they want?
So just because the market is such, we said we'll get a little more aggressive. So what we did was when we found a partner to exactly take our fiction, we went ahead and we co-produced it with him. So our deal with him is our fiction cost would be part of our investment, plus we would be putting in monies to co-produce the entire series. So we had a few workshops for the writers to exactly figure out what would basically suit in. We left the casting and the directional and the technical part to the local producer because that's where that particular person's expertise really comes in. We kept to the story levels and we run a very successful dubbed Indian stroke Arabic channel here with ZL1. So we know what really works within the Arabic space from our content. We have already aired the Indian dubbed version on the channel and we said this is going ahead. And after we have signed that, currently we have signed 4 more, which will go on the floor in the next 3 months.
So having aired the original version, and then you're producing a local version, doesn't cannibalize the audience?
No, it's completely new. And we went ahead to saying that, air it on any channel available. We may take the rights for it as a broadcaster, but we would keep that completely open because the story element would completely, the story bed would remain the same, but the elements would be completely local and completely changed.
So coming to drama adaptation, as we're talking about Tariq, that the comedy doesn't travel, do you think comedy from India to the region here, to other region would work, or you're just sticking to scripted drama?
Scripted drama, comedy could work. Now, there's a little science behind it. Now, when we actually were dubbing quite a lot of our Indian series for the local market, we used the Syrian dialect, okay? Now, what we have realized is for talk shows, which were like Bollywood talk shows, the Lebanese dialect was much more better. And we've gone through trying to dub, let's say, a talk show in Syrian, didn't really have the matter. When we went to slapstick comedy, we experimented with Egyptian dialect, and it worked very well. We had a local production here for ZTV. It was a 13-part series, and since it was based here, we said, let's do the Khaliji dialect, and it scored very well. In fact, it rated higher than, for me, it rated higher than Harim Sultan on our same channel. So that exactly works. So if you get the local nuance right, one of the biggest secrets, I think, is to get the local nuances from the casting point of view to the language of the spoken language of the characters in the show. If you get that right, yes, you've got at least 50% of your material in.
That's a high percentage, 50%. So, to end the session, we're going to just go around the panelists. Give us one secret. So, the secret to hit TV formats. We start with Anna. What do you think is the takeaway? One tip for broadcaster producers to have a successful formula or a format.
Can we skip to Tariq?
No, you're not getting away.
The one tip. I'm gonna side with Manoj here. I think it's the local relevance because that's really the only reason you're gonna get into production. If it was an idea of taking something international and trying to force feed it, buy finished content. You know, if you're going to go into local production, truly respect the fact that you're tailor-making for a local audience. And that means don't be afraid to go off script. Don't be afraid to push back with, you know, particular format Bible requirements that don't work for you. Take the structure as he has, right? Take a structure, take a name, and then fill in the rest. But truly localize.
So truly localization.
Truly localize.
Tariq, your tip. You can't say the same thing.
My mom's prayers.
Or the sheep.
Or the sheep. There is really nothing else. It is how to make it local, how to make it. I started in advertising in 2001, and one of the things I saw that a lot of TV ads were being adapted, whether legally or illegally, but it all comes down to making it local. If people feel it's foreign, it will never succeed. People have to feel that it is their local brand. We got the rights for Suits, and we're doing the Arabic version of Suits, and we got those rights 11 months ago. And just last week, we have the first 2 episodes. We've went through 3 writers so far. We changed so many things, and it's just because we don't want to translate it, we want to adapt it. So if it's not local, and you have to always think that whatever brand you're getting, 98% don't know what American Idol is, or don't know what SNL is, and they just have to feel that it is their own.
Yeah, building on that note, I think when you acquire or license a brand or a format, it's not for the audience, it's for you.
Exactly.
Because later on the audience will stick to what you're giving them. So they're not coming to watch SNL. They're coming to watch the comedy that you present them. But for you as a producer and broadcaster, you're acquiring the structure in order to have an analytic approach for
You
production.
acquire the structure and the know-how.
Exactly.
And the rest is just, it has to be done locally with the local team, with everything.
So Manoj, what's the tip from you?
I would actually give from a broadcaster point of view, or somebody who acquires content. Please make sure of what you really want to do with that particular format. If it's a perception driver, go acquire one of those big formats. Go do it well, as the Bible says, and add up to it with the local relevance. There's nothing without the local relevance. Otherwise, today, when we stand in this market is honestly ready to experiment something which is very unique and local and new to this market. May not have to be a big name. You can make it big. So go beyond the formats which we see, which have been successful world over. It will be good on your pocket, especially in the current market condition, and would probably give you better results.
And on that note, we end up saying maybe the title of the panel should be Trying to Find the Secret to Hit TV Formats, because we haven't found them yet, although maybe we've been in a cumulative like 60 years in the industry, all 4 of us. So on that note, we end up the session, and thank you very much for your presence.
Can I just ask, how many producers in the room, just out of curiosity? Any producers?
So the question is, how many producers in the room, by show of hands? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's excellent, 5.